on Power Hour. Keep telling you, we need like some kind of like real cool like sound effect. Brought to you each and every Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Kind of like we shake off the dust, so to speak, for all the other shows that are going to come and hit you on today on WURD, Pennsylvania's only black talk radio station. And now we're not just on radio. In fact, we're everywhere because I'm looking right at myself on Facebook Live. And probably in just a moment, YouTube Live. So that's kind of awesome. Listen, folks, you're sitting here this morning and you're probably wondering, hey, where's the other guy? Where's your co-host, Bishop Royster? I only see Mark Tyler. Well, I was thinking that too until I looked on Facebook. There he is with pictures of himself vacationing with, as Raphael would say, the elites. Hey, he put it out there on Facebook, so I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, because many of you follow him anyway. So glad that my friend is getting some well-deserved rest. He needs it. Only person I know that is literally busier than me is him. And so I'm happy that he is doing that on today. Here's somebody who probably needs some rest as well. Person who's going to steer this ship to make sure that I don't run off course and run aground. Hi, mateys. It's our super producer, the queen herself, Kawesa. What's up?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. You know, it kind of like sucks when you like wake up, you're like, then you look and see your co-host. He's like, hey, what's up, y'all? Yeah, just rub it in on us. How you feeling today?
Doing good. A little tired today, mainly because there was a loose dog in my neighborhood, and we saved him. So I'm a little tired, but I'm glad the dog is okay. But yeah, I'm well. I feel good that I did a good deed,
Whoa,
yesterday.
whoa, whoa. Okay, you have to explain this. So a loose dog. I
Yeah.
mean, back in our day, we just call that a rabid animal, but
Oh my
a
God.
loose dog.
Yeah, so like as soon as I came, literally as soon as I came home, I got home around closer to 5 o'clock yesterday from work, and there was I think he was 10 years old. He had a little dog that he was walking, and then there's this pit bull just running around, and he's like, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to be a responsible adult. I can't just like let you hang out with a pit bull, but very friendly. But yeah, we we were scouring our neighborhood trying to find the family, and ended up having to take the dog to the vet, and they scanned him and you know reunited with the owners and everything. But it was it was an ordeal. I'll just say that. It was a few hours of time when all I wanted to do was go home
Oh,
and just relax after work.
yeah. Yeah, I would have given that kid one word of advice. Run! If you want some more advice, run fast. Don't play with pit bulls, kid. Listen, so how's the weather? How's the traffic out there?
Traffic is not bad at all, at least right now. Weather is, it's muggy. I think it's going up to the 90s again, today. So, but it's not like that oppressive heat, at least not right now. So, but it was pretty hot yesterday. So, I don't, I don't know what later on is going to bring, but so far, so good. Not too bad out there.
All right, well, folks, there you have it. News and weather from Kwesa. And if you have stray dogs in your neighborhood on her way home from work, she'll stop by and take care of that for you too. That's just what she does. Hampton's own Kwesa. And listen, a lot to cover on today and not a lot of time to do it. So glad again to see all of you on social media. What's up, Nikki O'Tim and Catfish Hillbilly? Hold it down for us on YouTube. And over on Facebook Live, a ton of you. Glad to see all of you as well. Freddie, Peggy, Robert, Connie, Kanisha, Sandra, Wanda, Ed, and others that we don't have time to shout out. We'll try to work you in. Yeah, Gary, he's up there playing golf. Yeah. He's up there rubbing elbows with the elites. Where's Raphael when I need him? Huh? He'll have a ball with that. So, so this morning we're going to speak with Dr. Aubrey Hendricks, who is the author of Christians Against Christianity: How Right-Wing Evangelicals Are Destroying Our Nation and Our Faith. He's the author of Politics of Jesus and Other Works. You've seen him before, I'm certain, on places like CNN, MSNBC. Great thinker, and looking forward to that conversation with him in the second segment. Also on tomorrow, we're going to talk to Dr. George French, president of Clark Atlanta University. They're just down there, I should say, just giving money away. About 30 years late for me, but hey, I'm happy for the current student body, a number of whom had their debt forgiven completely. We're going to find out how he was able to do that at an HBCU of all places. Thursday, we're going to find out what's going on in the nation's capital with none other than Bishop Leah Daughtry of the Democratic Party. She also, as you know, hosted, well, not hosted, but she put together two of the DNC conventions. And so she knows a little something about what's going on. And then Friday, Katia Woods will be in as well to talk all things reopening as it relates to going back to movies and things of that nature. I mean, you got to know what's safe and what's not as we begin to get back out, especially doing things that are inside and in person. But for today, oh boy, so many directions we could go. But how about we start here? So Al Sharpton, the Reverend Al, he is breaking new ground. I don't know if you all saw this story, but in Arkansas, there was a tragic shooting of a young man there, Hunter Britton, shot and killed by police. And so, you know, when that happens, typically a couple of people show up. The Reverend Al Sharpton being one of them, and attorney Ben Crump being the other. Both of them showed up in my mom's home state of Arkansas, as she would remind me, that red clay down there. Here's the thing, Hunter Britton was not black. He was not a Latino, Asa Khalif, not a person of color. He was a white kid, and this happened in a predominantly white part of Arkansas, white community. And so you might say, what in the world is Al Sharpton? What's he doing in Arkansas standing up for this white kid's family? Why would Ben Crump be there standing up for this white kid's family? Good question. Good question. And apparently, the point that they want to make is that when you're talking about things like police brutality, that it is not simply something that happens to the black community, but it also happens especially in poor white communities as well. And so Reverend Al and Crump are there. They funeralized him a few weeks ago. I think we had a chance to really kind of go into this story, but I just think that that is it could be an important moment. It should be an important moment. Will it be an important moment? I don't know. You know, over the last 100+ years, activists like Al Sharpton, people who preceded him, tried to make the same argument and reach out to white working class people in particular. You think about the union movement, and you think about attempts to reach out to folk in Appalachia repeatedly to say, look, stop letting political parties divide us and corporate leaders divide us, and digging into all these old racial tropes and reasons why we should hate each other, when in fact we actually have more in common. Because the way they treat poor white kids in neighborhoods by way of policing deeply resembles what happens to black folk of all stripes. I mean, that's the difference, right? I mean, for black folk, it's not simply what happens to poor black folk, but it's what happens to anybody who's black, and folk who are listening this morning know exactly what I'm talking about, that your degree won't save you, where you vacation won't save you, what you are wearing and driving won't save you. And so there is a difference, but here is a modern 21st century attempt. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm glad to see that Reverend Al was there, because an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So said Dr. King. And so a threat to justice to poor white folk in Arkansas is a threat to justice to black folk in Philadelphia. I think we should see more of that. But unfortunately, a lot of white folk, and we're going to hear this from Dr. Aubrey Hendricks today, would rather kind of like toe the racial line, rather get misused by the police than ever admit that you got something in common with black folk. Sandra says it's not about race, but about justice. It should be. I mean, it should be. Nikki Hill Tim said the family requested Reverend Al and Ben Crump because they know. They're like, look, okay, we want results as a family. So who you gonna call? Well, Reverend Al and Ben Crump are on a roll right now. Glad to see it too. Speaking of policing, there is a very important story that's out recently. What was the young man's name who was shot and killed? The tragic story of, speaking of police killing people, in Chicago. Was it Adam Toledo? Young Latino boy. Am I right? Is that it, Kawesa? I want to say his last name was Toledo, if I'm not mistaken. That young man, thank you, who was killed, if you remember the way that the story unfolded. So police in justifying the shooting, and again, if you look at what they laid out, seems reasonable to understand why an officer would have been led to what happened. But as I think most of us know, that the first story that's told often has a way of being wrong. Kind of think David Jones, Philadelphia, Ace's cousin Brandon Tate Brown, and others, where the official story comes out, then it's like, as you continue to peel away, it's like, I don't know. So the Adam Toledo story started by telling us that police responded to shots fired using the technology called Shot Spotter. And Shot Spotter tech, picks up, is supposed to pick up shootings in a neighborhood. And this is technology that the police department has employed. They put microphones all around the city, especially in hot spots. And when they hear shootings, they dispatch. They said it's faster than 911 and faster than neighbors calling. It's almost instant. Now, when they tell you it's technology, I guess you think, oh, that's, it's great. So, no human involvement. There's a computer, there's an algorithm, and that computer basically is impartial, it's unbiased. Doggone it, but there's a human being who's also involved. So the Shot Spotter tech is coming under fire, no pun intended, in Chicago. There's a story out in Vice that is saying that police are telling the analysts who work for ShotSpotter to alter evidence from shootings to fit the narrative that they want. Man, you guys got to stop. It's so bad that they had to withdraw. The prosecutors trying to try a man for murder, they had to withdraw the evidence that relied on ShotSpotter because apparently the cops told the analyst to hear something that the analyst didn't hear. I mean, we can go into this more after we interview Dr. Hendricks, but I want to set this up because it's also been a problem in other places with other cases, notably upstate New York, where a man was actually Sylvan Smith, I believe is his last name, was actually freed, and a case dropped against him for something similar. Sylvan Simmons, excuse me. Same kind of situation as what's going on in Chicago, using the same technologies. Not the technology that's the problem, because it's pretty reliable, but like all tech, it's not 100%. And so, I mean, just like in all these other ugly old cases, what happens? You got some old cop probably walking in with like some old wrinkled up clothes, smelling like 100 packs of cigarettes, physically leaning on the analyst. You know, think about my man Bump in The Wire, where he's like tapping on a picture. They're looking at the lineup. He's kind of strongly suggested you pick that person. Yeah, I ain't saying it, but so you got these cops who are telling the analyst, I know the tech didn't hear a gunshot, but listen again. Maybe that helicopter is a gunshot, because we need 5 shots on this transcript, not 4. We need 1 from him. We've got our 4 accounted for, but we need 1 from him to make the. Are you serious? We'll talk about this again in the last segment, but we got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Dr. Aubrey Hendricks about his new book on how far right-wing evangelicals are destroying the nation. We'll be right back.
Hey, Philly, unless you're planning on enjoying summer vibes in the same sweatpants you wore for the past year, it's time to change things up. That's right, that Philly summer feeling is almost here. The city is ready, and so are all the shops, restaurants, and museums you've been missing. Get vaxxed, get dressed, and get back to all the things you love about Philadelphia. Go to ReadySetPhilly.com today to plan your triumphant return.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. Wow, that was a really quick commercial. That was it, Kwesa?
Yeah.
That's why you were just letting me just go on and on. You're like, oh, go ahead, Rev. You can just blow past that stop. Thank you. This is nothing like election time, right? Remember those like 10-minute commercial breaks? Brought to you by the campaign for. Anyway, hey, listen, folks, we are glad to be back and really happy about this opportunity to have this interview. And in fact, you know, what I was just talking about beforehand, what he's written about directly and indirectly has a bearing on that. Because a lot of what has happened in this country was allowed to have been happen has been done by a particular group of people who have a lot of influence, let's just say. Welcome to the program for the first time, certainly not the last time, Dr. Aubrey M. Hendricks, Jr., author, scholar, and my former boss. Good morning, Doc.
Nice to talk to you, brother. It's nice to talk to you. Nice to connect yet again.
Absolutely. Listen, whenever I'm around you, I have to just simply say, thank you for giving me a job at Payne Seminary and taking a chance on little old me. I deeply appreciate it.
Oh, brother, you sell yourself short, but that's preacher talk, I think, man, because you are so, you are so competent at everything that you do, brother. I'm amazed at all that you get done and how well you do it.
Well, listen, Doc. Hey, right back at you. So, I mean, in addition to teaching at places like Columbia and New York Seminary, and just, I mean, again, you're like all over the place, but somehow you find it within yourself to write just the most compelling books. I didn't think you could outdo the politics of Jesus, and I know in our circle and others, people are always referencing that particular work, but the new work that you have, and I got to believe that you were already writing this before the election of 2020 and January 6th in particular. So, I mean, but this work is just, it's prophetic because so much of what you talked about has already come to pass instantly. It's Christians against Christianity, how right-wing evangelicals are destroying our nation and our faith. I mean, what prompted you? First of all, where did the title come from? That's a heck of a title.
Pardon me. Well, you know, brother, I mean, just came from my observation. I mean, these folks, they are the right-wing evangelicals, you know, and they're, you know, 99% of them are white. You know, what they're doing is really anti-Christian, man. I mean, they are, instead of sowing love, they sow hate. Instead of sowing truth, they sow lies. You know, they forgot that Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," and as you have not done to the least of these, you have not done to me. You know, they're Christians against Christianity. That's the only way that I could see it, you know, and articulate it. And so I wrote the book out of a real sense of outrage and sadness and anger at what these folks are doing to the faith and the way that these right-wing evangelicals have gotten so much influence in the Republican Party, and how they coalesce with this sick, demonic Donald Trump to bring this country, you know, to its knees. And so I just felt it needed to be written to raise people's consciousness, to see just how wrong and how fallacious the foundations of right-wing evangelical Christian thought is. And I have a hard time calling them Christians, brother, but, you know, I go ahead. I'll let them do that. You know, I'll give them that.
Well, I mean, it's so, and I want to say that you are a biblical scholar. You are an ordained preacher in the AME church. You are a part of the Christian faith tradition. And so you're not an outsider critiquing that, you know, what you view as Christianity. You're an insider. So, I mean, so how does your own faith story, you know, I mean, how do you reconcile what we're seeing in the name of faith, reconcile with what you grew up with and what you come to understand as faith?
Well, yeah. Well, pardon me. I made a conscious decision as an adult to join the AME Church because of its long and glorious history and potential. But I grew up Baptist and in the church. You know, I mean, my sister and I used to joke. We thought we were born in the Sunday school room because we spent so much time there. But I grew up seeing the Christian faith lived out as I'm sure you did, and so many of your listeners. We saw how people, you know, believed in taking care of one another and loving one another. And in the church, we were raised to be, you know, good Christians, good people, good ethical, moral citizens, and to see that, and to see the kind of faith that carried my grandfather Joseph Baker Banks, my grandmother Laura Banks, through their terrible time in Virginia, and you know, to seeing that and seeing the grandeur of that faith, and then, you know, that gave me my perspective on what Christianity is supposed to be and to do. And so when I see what these right-wing evangelicals, who are really white nationalists, and when I saw what they were doing, I'm thinking, well, that's not Christianity. I saw Christianity growing up. And so that was my perspective, and that's one reason why it's so offensive to me, because you look at how our people have lived the faith and articulated the faith and have had such faith influence on America, and then you have these creeps, you know, Paul the White and these charlatans standing up and supporting a man who, if I believed in a metaphysical, supernatural antichrist, would be him, Donald Trump. You see them doing this, it's just offensive, right? And so I just felt I had to write. I had to do, as a biblical scholar, I had to analyze the various things that they are telling people in their various political positions that they're trying to get to dominate the whole country. I had to analyze and show just how fallacious and how false they are, and how many lies underlie right-wing evangelical theology and practice.
So then how do you, so what does, your research and your writing say to you about what happened in the nation's capital on January the 6th, this insurrection attempt? And I think more so directly to your work, what I saw, maybe other people heard other things, but what seemed to be relative silence from so many conservative Christian leaders.
Yeah. Well, and I finished Christians Against Christianity before January 6th, and but I saw it coming because Donald Trump gave every indication, even when he was just running the first time, that he was running to rule, not to serve. And he gave every indication during his administration that he wants to be a tyrant. And they were calling him, these right-wing evangelicals were calling him a Messiah. Some folk were saying that they wanted a book of Trump in the Bible. And I talk about this in Christians and Christianity. I document it. And so, it was obvious that he was not going to abdicate. It was obvious, when he lost, it was obvious that they were not going to contest him. And so, you saw what happened on January 6th. A lot of those folk carried crosses in. And we're talking about Christianity and all that is because those leaders, Franklin Graham, Robert Jeffries, the Negro from Detroit, whatever his name is, who supported him, said he was did more for black folks than any other president. All these folks, they primed the people, to rise up. And so, I saw it coming. And it's going to get worse, as you know. They're primed to do more. And so this is what we call a movement with the spirit of Antichrist, in that they are, in the name of Christ, they are doing the exact opposite of what Jesus taught. And that's why they're so difficult, so dangerous, and that's why I wrote Christians Against Christianity.
Wow. Well, we're talking to Dr. Aubrey Hendricks, Jr., and about his new book, Christians Against Christianity. You got to get it. You got to take a look at it. I was, listening to it yesterday on Audible as I was writing, and I heard you talk about I really found it moving, because as long as I've known you, I know you talked about like your family, but I've never heard you go as in depth as you have, and how it formed your understanding of faith and what faith should be. But as I was thinking about like the narrative of your grandparents and further back, at the same time, it seems like you had these same kind of folk, right? We've all seen pictures of white Christians who had just left church attending the lynchings of black people in the South, in America. Do you talk at all about, the historical link between then and now as well?
Well, yeah, I look at the history of evangelicalism in this country, and early evangelicals, even though, America's always been racist, most of the abolitionists were evangelicals, and evangelicals were involved in working with the freedmen after emancipation, and they did a lot of good, though of course they were racist in their ranks. But the difference is now that these folks, racism is like normative now, and it has a lynch mob mentality. It came out on January 6th, but it's come out in smaller ways. Like I show in Christians Against Christianity how the counties that Trump went through when he was campaigning, that every county that he went through saw an upsurge in violence against minorities, and so, pardon me, and so that lynch mob mentality is underlying it, and that's why you're seeing this upsurge in violence against Asians and against Jews and against blacks, and it's a continuation. And so, they're not doing it with the noose and the bonfire, but they're blowing folks up, or they're jumping people on the street and beating them and killing them. It's the same kind of mentality. You see what I'm saying? It's just the technology is different now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Doc, that's fascinating. First of all, that wherever Trump went in the wake was, an uptick in violence against, people of color, which is it's hard to believe, but it is absolutely believable. So I've heard a lot of evangelical, Christians, conservative Christians. I think they would kind of draw a distinction between themselves and the far right wingers. But so I've seen pastors who said on something like the mask mandate, right, or the vaccine. Forget Trump. I mean, those members, they're so far gone. They're saying that they can't, that if they even bring up wearing a mask to try to save the lives of their members, the mob turns on them. What do you say to white conservative preachers? Because I know they're going to pick this book up. They probably called you already and said, we need some help, we need advice. What do you say to them right now?
Well, it really comes down to this, that we have to go back to the core of the gospel. I mean, you can't get around it. They have to portray it. And as pastors, Jesus said this, to feed my sheep. As you know, pastors have a primary responsibility for the welfare of their flock. That's why you pastor. And they just have to hold fast to that. And said, I'm saying this to you out of love. This has nothing to do with politics. And they just have to hold fast. It's a hard thing. And some people might lose their pulpit, but it comes down to the quality and the nature of their pastoral witness, in my opinion. I mean, sometimes you just have to sacrifice. And people will go along with it if they continue hearing this as an ethical and a moral stance. Because they're even the most tangential Christian will be able to hear a message of caring when it's presented as caring, and not saying you got to do this, you got to do this. It's like, look, I love you all, and I in my spirit and in my prayers, I hear that I have to ask you to protect yourselves. You see what I'm saying? But see, they're not doing that a lot. A lot of them are just they're pussyfooting it. They're taking it easy. They're not coming right out and saying what needs to be said, and that's the problem. There's really a problem of courage among so many pastors. They're not standing up, and that's why Trump is still, and the party of Trump is still able to go as far as they go, because right-wing evangelicals only make up about 15% of the population, but look how much control they have. Why? Because we who know better aren't standing up as strong and as hard as we should. And pastors have to take up that cross and bear it, and look to really make a difference and save the lives of their people. Wow.
Man, that is such a great way to end it. Now, listen, I thank you so much, because as you were talking, I'm thinking, listen, that before slavery ended, evangelicals had to likewise make some choices, and it split denominations historically in two over the issue of slavery. And some had the courage or their conviction to stand up and say it's wrong and we're not going to be a part of it, even if it means losing. And I think your book is not just a wake-up call to us to know what's going on, but a real wake-up call to those persons who are inside those rooms, who need to stand up, who need to speak up, and sometimes need to walk out if things don't change. So Dr. Ober Hendricks, Jr., You all got to buy the book. It's Christians Against Christianity, How Right-Wing Evangelicals Are Destroying Our Nation and Our Faith. Available everywhere. My brother, thank you for getting up early to be on the Power Hour, and we'll try to get you back another time, maybe at 6:40, not so early as 6:20.
Thank you, brother. It's a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
All right, take care.
You too.
All right. Wow. Dr. Aubrey Hendricks. That's a great interview. When we come back, we'll break that down and again, talk a little bit more about that shot spotter technology as well and try to get to a couple other things. This is the Power Hour. Don't go anywhere.
This Word Wellness vignette is brought to you by Penn Medicine. Word Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation.
This is Helana, your resident expert health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Let's talk about bringing laughter into your home. Have you ever looked at someone you didn't know and burst out laughing? Me neither. But I know when the feeling of spontaneous laughter overcomes me, there is no stopping it. A smile truly is worth 1,000 words. And these days, we need more of them. Wouldn't you agree? Did you know smiling can reduce your blood pressure, decrease your stress, and relax the body? In fact, children are known to smile 400 times a day, while the average adult only smiles 14 times per day. It's time we all tapped into our inner child. Bringing laughter back into your home can look like this. Watch a funny movie by yourself or with family. Revisit your favorite comedian's stand-up special, or take a dive down the YouTube rabbit hole of funny clips. Doodle, draw, or play a card game with the children in your life. See the world through their eyes. We sometimes think in order to laugh, we have to do specific things. Yet, we can choose to find the joy all around us every single day. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with Word. Happy, healthy living.
Stay well with Word. Connect with us at wordradio.com. This Word Wellness vignette was brought to you by Penn Medicine, committed to improving the health and lives of those in our communities and beyond.
The Broad Street line.
Norristown High Speed line.
I ride the bus.
I ride the trolley. Ursula Linea Azul.
Take all of them.
All of them.
All of them.
Into, out of, and all around the city.
SEPTA is the hometown way to go.
Plan your trip at iSEPTAPhilly.com.
Word Radio Digital Tip of the Month with Stephanie Humphrey. Brought to you by Comcast.
Using food or grocery delivery services like DoorDash, Grubhub, or Instacart proved to be a valuable lifeline for some during the pandemic. And even as the country opens up, food delivery is still very popular and shows no sign of slowing down. Here are some tips to make sure your next food or grocery delivery goes smoothly. Typically, the best time of the day to order groceries is first thing in the morning, but on most apps, you can schedule your delivery in advance, so take advantage of that feature to help avoid long wait times. Make sure you leave clear delivery instructions for your driver. Provide cross streets, landmarks, or a description of your home if necessary. And leave detailed instructions for your grocery shopper by specifying preferences in the comments in the app. If you're concerned about security within the app, use Apple Pay or PayPal as your payment method instead of storing your credit card information. And of course, make sure you tip your shopper or driver for their hard work. Stay tuned to WURD for more tips and stay connected with us at wordradio.com.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Some volume getting busy here in Philadelphia. Schuylkill Expressway westbound Broad past Young jamming now through construction. West of that city at the Belmont a bit slow. Eastbound no major problems or delays as of yet. The Boulevard Route 1 southbound some slowing there from Broad down to Wissahickon through construction. Southbound 95 that's a slow ride from Cottman down the bridge through that work zone. Again Allegheny through Girard getting a bit busy. Northbound side looks good. Westbound Vine Expressway to Slate Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. 55 northbound Deptford into 42 getting heavy. Staples Connect is amazing prices for everything on your back to school list. The TI 84 Plus CE graphing calculator just $99.99. That's a $50 savings. In-store only. Offer ends 8/1. Limit 2. Visit your local Staples store and become more than ready for school at Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a Word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Sunny skies and hot today, but turning less humid this afternoon, a high of 94 degrees. Mainly clear tonight, partly sunny tomorrow, though there is a chance of late-day showers and thunderstorms, and it will be more humid, a high of 88 for Wednesday. Mostly cloudy, a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon on Thursday, up to 86. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. Again, we want to thank Dr. Aubrey Hendricks for that really important interview because, again, I think many of us sometimes miss some of the nuance behind what's going on. There's a lot of history. You talk about evangelicals in this country. And as he said, not all, but there is a particular group right now that has its hand on the wheel, that they are steering all the rest of them, for better or for worse. And I'm telling you, it is some frightening stuff right now. Got pastors afraid to even speak up in their churches against it because they know that at best they'll be fired. At worst, it could even be something more than that. I'm just saying, there's a history in this. So check out the book, Christians Against Christianity. Now, I was also talking earlier about a story that is been covered by Vice. And so this is, of course, one of the areas where I spend a lot of my time is around police accountability and police reform. And so this story certainly stands out. In Philadelphia, back in 2016, they technology, which was called Century. Maybe somebody out there like Rochelle Bilal or someone, if they're listening, can put into the chat whether or not the city of Philadelphia is still doing it. Fortunately for us, Philly was too broke to use ShotSpotter. I know that's terrible to say, but it's true. ShotSpotter is pretty expensive, so Philly went with a cheaper alternative called Century. But the technology of ShotSpotter is supposed to make things perfect. It's supposed to, bring us into, the world of like the movie Minority Report, where almost before you shoot the gun, technology is informed law enforcement and boom, they're there. Now, in a city like ours today, where gun violence is so rampant, Janice Armstrong has written a column about it today. You ought to check it out and read, talking about personal accountability, grasping at straws, trying to find a reason. City council is demanding that the mayor declare a state of emergency. And so who else, who would not, want to go to technology that promises that it can help you stop these killings from happening? Who? Especially Chicago. There's no place like Chicago right now when it comes to gun. And so sure, if you got tech that will help us, then great. Let me just read the very beginning of this article. I'm not going to read it all, but sort of read the beginning of it to just set to kind of give you an idea of what the problem is. This is from Vice.com. On May 31st last year, 25-year-old Safrian Herring was shot in the head and dropped off at St. Bernard Hospital in Chicago by a man named Michael Williams. He died 2 days later. Chicago police eventually arrested the 64-year-old Williams and charged him with murder. Williams maintains that Herring was hit in a drive-by shooting. A key piece of evidence in the case is video surveillance footage showing Williams' car stopped on the 6300 block of South Stony Island Avenue at 11:46 p.m., the time and location where police say they know Herring was shot. How did they know? That's where the shooting happened. Police said ShotSpotter, a surveillance system that uses hidden microphone sensors to detect the sound and location of gunshots, generated an alert for that time and place. Okay? Sounds reasonable, right? Here the story continues. Except that's not entirely true, according to recent court filings. That night, 19 ShotSpotter sensors detected a percussive sound at 11:46 p.m. and determined the location to be 5700 South Lakeshore Drive, 1 mile away from the site where prosecutors say Williams committed the murder, according to a motion filed by Williams' public defender. The company's algorithms initially classified the sound as a firework. that weekend had seen widespread protests in Chicago in response to George Floyd's murder, and some of those protesting lit fireworks. But after the 11:46 p.m. alert came in, a shot spotter analyst manually overrode the algorithms and reclassified the sound as a gunshot. Then, months later, and after post-processing, another shot spotter analyst changed the alert's coordinates to a location on South Stony Island Drive near where Williams' car was seen on camera. Here's the quote from the attorneys. Through this human-involved method, the shot spotter output in this case was dramatically transformed from data that did not support criminal charges of any kind to data that now forms the centerpiece of the prosecution's murder case against Mr. Williams, the public defender wrote in the motion. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Did you? I posted the story on Facebook Live and on YouTube so you can read it for yourself. But so you get fireworks and the machine says, no, this is not a shooting, that's fireworks. I'm the machine, I know better. An analyst, why? Changes it and reclassifies it to gunshot. I told you, Bump from The Wire showed up, tapping his ear like, huh? No. What'd you hear? It kind of sound like gunshot to me. Because we need a gunshot at 1146 on Stony Avenue, because that's where we have the person we want to be the shooter. Well, that's where we see his car. We need a gunshot to support this. Come on, shot spotter. Well, the machine doesn't say, machines are imperfect. I think that was a gunshot. Listen again. Okay, gunshot. And then months later, even though it's, the actual gunshot is a mile away, it's let's bring that over and change the coordinates. Man, Chicago PD, you make places like Philly and Oakland look like the Boys and Girls Club. We got to bring my friend Nicole Gonzalez Van Cleve back on. Professor. Now you talk about a book. She wrote a book about Cook County and their law enforcement, but she called it Crook County. She used to teach at Temple. She's down at University of Delaware now, I believe. You got to check her stuff out. She has stories about like dark sites where they take people like, it was almost like Chicago's version of Guantanamo Bay. And yes, Asa Khalif, you can't make this up. Well, I guess you can make some things up like, that wasn't a firework, that was a gunshot. In a related story, the Vice talks about how Sylvan Simmons in upstate New York had a conviction on a gun charge overturned. Police said he shot at them before they shot him in the back. Only problem is Shot Spotter only picked up their shots. Shot Spotter didn't pick up his shot. So they were like, come on, Shot Spotter analyst. We need a shot. Give us a shot. Okay. If you don't understand, look, tech is not perfect. Tech is helpful, but as long as you have a human element, it can be manipulated. And so we have to question everything. And we cannot just simply say, well, the technology said it, so it's all good. And that goes for everything. Speed trap camera, speed cameras, red light cameras, whatever, but especially this kind of information where people are using things that the community supported because the community wants to end the violence and the killing, and now using it against the same community to get convictions in cases that you can't make because you want to lower your clearance rate. Huh. And that's all we have time for, unfortunately, today. But fortunately, be back tomorrow. We can pick this story back up as well, and perhaps even reach out to Sylvan Simmons or his attorney from upstate New York, since that story is resolved. And it'd be good to hear from him. And again, don't forget, tomorrow we're going to talk to the president of Clark Atlanta University about all the money they've given away to students. And I want to ask him, why is he 30 years late? Could have wiped off my debt 30 years ago. Thank you, Kwesa. Hope Bishop gets some good rest on vacay on today. And keep posting those pictures up there, Bishop, if you can. And stay around for Wake Up with Word. And go out, and as Bishop Royster would say, if he were here, change the damn world, because it needs changing. Peace.